residential schools carry with them a devastating history, which we cannot erase. More importantly, we cannot allow residential schools to erase the rich indigenous history which precedes them. Policies of assimilation, enacted by the Indian residential school system, threaten to destroy indigenous cultures, wipe out indigenous languages, and extract the identity and pride from indigenous children. These children were forced from their homes and communities to be left in the care of the church and state. We fast forward to today. We can see that there is hope. There is hope that indigenous cultures will be revitalized. There is hope that languages will be regenerated. There is hope that identities will be reclaimed. And there is hope that pride will be renewed. Today, the Sts'ailes Community School embodies this hope. The Sts'ailes Community School is a cultural school with a focus on community, which situates itself on Sts'ailes territory in the Upper Fraser Valley of British Columbia. The name Sts'ailes originates from the legend of the Transformer and means beating heart. Today, that origin correctly narrates the thriving culture and unified perseverance. Living the culture exemplifies every aspect of the Sts'ailes way of life. The culture especially comes to life through education, the core foundation to the transmission of cultural knowledge. Sts'ailes Community School is grounded in both culture and community. The cultural school's principles lie in direct contrast to those of residential schools. Residential schools remove children from their communities to impose educational structures and goals which reflect foreign values and customs, whereas local teachings at Sts'ailes Community School focus on a balance between BC's core curriculum and lessons that reflect the community's holistic values. Teachers facilitate an environment which draws upon a variety of culturally driven fields, which include seasonal fieldwork, picking berries and medicines, fishing, preserving food, carving, weaving both cedar and wool, drumming and drum making, singing, regalia, ceremonies, legends, and oral histories. To progress cultural education, the school collaborates with the community in local ceremonies, traditions, and the overall upbringing of their children in a family-oriented environment. Students also benefit from the shared wisdom of elders, who recount their lived experiences and impart invaluable lessons. One of the most important aspects of cultural education is the transmission of language to younger generations. Residential schools sought to wipe out indigenous languages through the enactment of assimilation policies. These policies forbade children from speaking their native tongue. This was strictly enforced through punishments, such as washing the children's mouths out with soap and sticking needles through their tongues if they were caught communicating with one another, singing, or praying in their first language. Sts'ailes Community School recognizes the importance of Halkomelem, their traditional language. The school is aware that Halkomelem is in critical danger of extinction because of the lasting effects of residential schools. With only 1 or 2 fluent speakers left in the community, Sts'ailes must provide an answer to the very real risk of Halkomelem dying off with their elders. To counteract their fleeting linguistic ties to their heritage, the community school incorporates language lessons into everyday schoolwork. As a provincially recognized second language, Halkomelem is taught to all grades. At an impressionable stage, kindergarten and preschool students are introduced to the language through an immersion program, starting their cultural education with the alphabet, colors, months, and common phrases in their ancestors' tongue. Additionally, prayers, songs, words of the day, and signs around the school provide basic linguistic integration for all grades. Language provides a crucial medium in establishing and maintaining a distinct cultural identity. Residential schools were designed to destroy the indigenous people's collective identity, beginning at the individual level. Upon their arrival at the residential schools, students lost their identity. Their given names were replaced with either Christian names or numbers. Siblings were separated from one another. Their hair was cut short, and they were forced to wear uniforms. Today, Sts'ailes Community School is a place where the identities of both students and faculty are cherished. As much as possible, students are addressed by their Indian names, and if they do not have an Indian name, their names are translated into Halkomelem. Native and non-native senior staff members were embraced by the community at a naming ceremony where they were given traditional names that reflect their identities and their roles within the school. Nurturing the unique individual identities of the students and staff upholds their collective identity and fosters pride within the community. Sts'ailes is instilled with a deep sense of pride. They strive to create a strong connection to their ancestry to understand who they are and where they come from. Residential schools try to suppress indigenous pride by making children feel ashamed of who they are, by telling students that they are dirty savages who need to be more civilized, by prohibiting their traditional practices, by scorning their fundamental belief systems, and by mocking their traditional histories. Sts'ailes Community School cultivates self-confidence among its students to build a strong and persistent feeling of identity. The cultural education revitalizes traditional knowledge, values, and above all, respect for the community's historical roots. Students engage in a community-oriented curriculum which combines tradition and technology. Collaboration between the Sts'ailes band, local elders, and the school has produced an educational program which employs the technology of Google Earth to zero in on the Sts'ailes territories and use interactive push points to identify the traditional site names, recount oral histories, and present 3D representations of village sites as they existed thousands of years ago. This revolutionary development will greatly influence the ways in which local culture is taught, understood, and appreciated in Sts'ailes. If we look back at the stark contrast between residential schools and the Sts'ailes Community School, we can see a total transformation in the education of First Nations children. Like a phoenix, rising from the ashes, Sts'ailes resisted the assimilative pressures imposed upon them and asserted their collective strength as a community. Their collective strength, which is woven through their cultural roots. Sts'ailes Community School brings their community one step closer to hope. Hope that Indigenous culture will be revitalized. Hope that language will be regenerated. Hope that identities will be reclaimed. And hope that pride will be renewed.